I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Don Krupp, and I'm the Clackamas County Administrator, and I'd really like to extend a word of appreciation for you to be here today to help us welcome what is the opening of what will be the Veterans Village here in Clackamas County. And of course, you're all here because in some way or another, you've all been a part of it. And you've all been part of helping us build a community that we're looking forward to being able to grow and survive and to succeed here in this location. Our residents here, they'll be directly involved with how this place lives and operates and works. They'll be helping to build new pods for people to sleep in here and to live in here. And one of the things we're going to ask them to do is we're going to ask them to work together to come up with a name for the village, to start a community identity that resonates with their desires and aspirations here. In a moment, I'm going to introduce to you the county commissioners and a key partner in this project to provide for you some comments. And then following that, you'll all have an opportunity to visit and tour around the site. Before I do that, I want to make sure, though, that I acknowledge the many players and partners, individuals and organizations that have a hand in making this all come together. So I want to thank the Mayor of Portland and the Portland City Commission, the Mayor of Oregon City and the Oregon City Commission. I want to thank Do Good Multnomah, Catholic Charities, Love Incorporated, Communitecture, the nonprofit group Amen, Born and Raised, the students and faculty of Portland State University who worked so diligently to build the initial set of pods, the Clackamas County Planning Commission and our Budget Committee who gave the commitment to start this, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, City Repair, the Clark's Grange, the Springwater Grange, American Medical Response, Mr. Robert Zimmer for his very generous donation, Portland General Electric, who pulled out all the stops to make sure we actually have power here today. I mean, they were exceptional partners in putting this together. And then the scores of county employees, I got to tell you, who stepped up and volunteered to be a part of this, to volunteer and donate their time and effort to be able to put things together. I know I myself, I went through 2 wardrobes with paint here that are now kind of out in the garage. But and with all of that, these are really just some of the folks. But as you can see, it is a huge, large list of folks. And you know, like just this last weekend, we had countless volunteers here. They ran the call from a word that went out on nextdoor.com, and people who didn't know each other but just saw that call, they all came down here. So I want to especially thank all of those volunteers in our community who helped make this happen. And with that, I'm going to introduce Chris Iosa, who is the Executive Director of Do Good Multnomah. So Chris, come on.
Thanks, Don.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Good.
Thank you. So my name is Chris Iosa. I am the Executive Director of Do Good Multnomah. We are a nonprofit that serves specifically homeless and previously homeless veterans, and we couldn't be happier to be a part of this. Glad we get the worst public speaker out of the way first. I was told I have a minute, and usually I blub and cry, and it takes me about 3, so hopefully it doesn't take that long. Other than saying thank you for allowing us to be a part of this, I want you just to look around, to see all the people here, to see all the hard work that has been, has taken to get to this moment. But I'm going to say one thing. The work hasn't started yet. The work starts when these veterans move into these pods. We're going to rely on the neighbors and the community and the county and organizations like ours and other nonprofits and for-profits in Clackamas County to make sure that every single one of these veterans are successful. So I'm making a call out to you and to everybody that's listening and watching. If you're interested in making an impact on these veterans' lives, please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'd like now to introduce the chair of the Clackamas County Commission, Mr. Jim Bernard.
Well, I'm going to start off by going off script. You know, Don is leaving in January, and if it weren't for Don and his work with the budget, this would never have happened. So, thank you. You know, it always takes a long time to get things done, and I used to be a small business owner, and when I got into government, it always bugged me that government takes so long to get things done. But, you know, in this case, 2 years ago, a seed was planted about a village such as this, and today it's here. And that seed from that has grown a lot. You know, $200 set aside to look at doing this. But the thing that's different about where you are today is that we did it according to the law. We went through the planning process. We did everything according to the law. And when you do that, it takes a little more time. But it also provides a safe, stable opportunity to help these veterans do what the gentleman from Do Good said, change their lives, turn it around. The most important part about changing your life is a place to leave your stuff, to take a shower, to change your clothes, and to go out and look for a job, and that's what this place will provide. I also got to thank Paul Savas. You know, he really stepped up on a weekend and moved, with the help of others, these pods here on his own. And I think that was a tremendous task, and I'm proud of the hard work you put in that. Not only that, the blackberries he knocked down, but it also took a lot of other, it took our county attorney to figure stuff out. It took a lot of people, a village, to make this village. So I want to thank you all for coming, and look forward to changing the life of these folks and many other folks in the future, and really find a stable home that these vets can move into someday in the future. So thank you very much.
So Jim, I appreciate the acknowledgement to the budget work, but you know, there's one individual I want to point out here, and that's Emily Klepper. Emily, where are you? Emily's been our project manager, coordinating the efforts with all of the various departments and volunteer organizations. And Emily, I don't think we can thank you enough for all the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into making this happen. I also want to make a quick acknowledgement to Kevin Coe. He was out here working with volunteers, making sure everything got done, shimmying up the pods to make sure they were square and also properly surfaced on the ground. So next I'm going to invite Commissioner Sonia Fisher to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Don. Boy, it really does take a village to create a village. And looking around at everyone that's here, I want to say thank you to all of you for investing in your afternoon to come share this momentous moment with us. One thing I want to remind everyone, and I know we're all in this together, this village is a transitional village. So that means, as Chris stated, the work begins now. We have provided a place for veterans to come, to gather, to connect with each other, to connect with the community, to connect with what's next for them. And that's going to take all of us working together to make sure that we provide the foundation here to launch the next journey for these veterans. We in Clackamas County, and I know I speak for every person here, we honor and respect those that have served. This is the first step, the first landing place, a place to gather, a place to heal, a place to become what's next. And I want to thank everyone again for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Sonia. Next, I'd like to invite Commissioner Ken Humberston up to the mic.
Thank you, Don. For me, this is a particularly poignant moment. As a veteran myself, I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm not living on the street. I'm not homeless. I'm not hungry. I'm healthy, and I have a wonderful job with wonderful colleagues to work with. So to have them step up and make this happen for those who are not as lucky as the rest of us standing here means a great deal to me personally. I want to thank everybody who has given their time, their energy, their effort, their money, their support in every way that they have to this project. I do have some speaking points that we've been asked to read, so I'm going to go down those, but well, I'll just leave it at that. Clackamas County has a strategic plan. Performance Clackamas lists 28 goals for our boards to work toward. One of these goals is that by 2019, the number of unsheltered veterans in Clackamas County will be 0. That's an ambitious goal, but ambitious goals calls for ambitious plans, and we're standing today in the middle of a result of such a plan. And if you don't set ambitious goals, you'll never accomplish them. So you set those goals and then you strive as hard as you can to get them. Why did we decide to have a focus on homeless veterans? Because these are the people who have served our country. And if they don't have the basics, they face huge disadvantages to getting back on their feet. Sheltering those who have served their country demonstrates our values of service and respect. These are the values of everyone here. These are the values of this board, and these are the values of our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I'm going to invite Commissioner Paul Savas up to the mic, but I just wanted to say one quick word. It was Paul that made sure we put that $300,000 into the budget to seed this effort. He was the one who advocated and made the appeal to get us started. So Paul, come on up.
Well, like Chris, I'm probably not the best speaker, and I don't want my emotions to come out here. But and like Jim, talking about the seed and Don Krupp, I just want to point out before I read what I'm going to read that it was veterans themselves who really brought the idea and the concept, not really the idea, but frankly the need and the technicality within the VA's regulations that transitional shelters are a necessity to getting homeless veterans on the way to permanent housing. So without that idea and that concept, which came from veterans, we wouldn't be here today, and I would not have been inspired to bring that seed and ask for that $300,000 to begin this project. So I'll go down and read my piece here. The homeless crisis we're facing in this county has brought attention to the economic impacts of rising land values, the rising costs of rental housing, and the plight of those who have little to no income. The veterans that have served our county, our country, and fought for our freedom should be able to come home and have the opportunity to succeed. This transitional shelter facility will provide each veteran with an interim mailing address, required contact information, a veteran service officer and advocate, and access to health and medical services that they need. These are all really requirements to get steps into the program, into permanent housing. And most importantly, because they are in a transitional shelter and houseless, only then are they eligible for that permanent housing through the VA. As I mentioned earlier, I learned of this technicality, which is why we're here today, and from veterans who are committed to helping their fellow comrades, veterans without housing, find their way to permanent housing, to nourishment, to clothing, to health care, and medications they need. Here today, in attendance, we have a lot of veterans. If you could all raise your hands for a moment. Thank you for your service. There are a number of veterans that aren't here today that also really brought, again, as I mentioned earlier, inspired really this project here. Commissioner Pat Farr from Lane County. Are you here, Pat? He was down here last Wednesday. He has accommodated us in Eugene several times for tours of their facility. He's come down and speak to our staff and gave them ideas. He's been a great inspiration. We stole the idea or copied the idea, and he wants to throw the credit back to Clackamas County, but we're here today, and I just want to thank Commissioner Pat Farr. Jim mentioned the folks that helped us move these pods. I don't know if they're here today, but excuse me, I want to call out Brian Johnson, Kevin Johnson, and Chris Rosada for one long, hard day into the night, moving these pods from Oregon City to here. And we set the last few pods down with flashlights and headlights going. So it was a long day, but special thanks to them. So Don talks about Emily. I see Emily there in the back. Emily, wow. We would not be here today or ready without her tenacity, her efforts, and her extra efforts putting this together. I just want to special thanks to her. She's done an outstanding job. And Don Krupp, our county administrator, also instrumental. And we mentioned Kevin Coe and all the other staff who have done a fantastic job. Steve, others, you know who you are. Awesome work. We've been meeting monthly, sometimes twice a month, as a group to try to help make sure this program stayed going. I know I'm over my past minute or my 60 seconds here, but I also want to thank my colleagues on the commission, because we would not be here today without my colleagues. So thank you for your support. And I got one last thing here. So the most rewarding thing of all, I kind of touched on it earlier, and that is that it's literally about veterans helping veterans. That has been what's really struck me, and actually really, for me, has been an inspiration. It's been rewarding to see that. It's kind of almost changed my whole faith in society, not on veterans themselves, but the fact that so many people, even non-veterans, families of veterans, that want to come and participate and help. So just the outpouring has just been overwhelming and tremendous. I can't thank enough people, some who are here, people from Fort Kennedy who initiated help with the idea and plant the seed. I know I'm leaving out a lot of people, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. And now I'd like to invite Commissioner Martha Schrader to come on up and say a few words.
Well, welcome everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful time after I hopefully be quite short here right now to tour around this area. And I would like to thank all of our staff. Can the folks that worked on this from our staff who are here, can you raise your hands? Fahid, Jill, Andrew, there's Rich, Dan is back there. This and Emily, but I'm going to talk about Emily in a minute or so. I have to say that this was a remarkable project on so many levels, because it really was a model for interdisciplinary work together. To plan this village, to get this to happen, we had folks from planning, we had folks from code enforcement, we had folks from human services. We had people who had really, in many ways, never actually talked to one another before about an interdisciplinary effort. And the good news is this is just the start. With this as the model, we will not only continue this work for our veterans with housing, but we will also, I think, continue to use this model of interdisciplinary work with folks that can really help inform and bring these kinds of projects to fruition. I'm really very, very proud of our staff, how hard they worked to be in the room with them when we were just problem solving. We didn't know what this would take. We didn't know what codes we had to change. We didn't know, learning that 30% sometimes of our folks may never actually, will always need some kind of subsidized housing. But this village is a result of all of that work. And I also just want to say one last thing, and this is about my dear friend Emily Kepler. We spent many times in her office, and I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? she's kind of officially assigned to me as my policy advisor, and I'm very close to her, and I love her very much, as I love all our policy advisors. But to see her take on a project like this, because she wanted to stretch herself and she wanted to learn something new, and she really wanted to, put herself where she's kind of on the leading edge of something, was absolutely remarkable. I love you, Emily. You're wonderful. I hope we can spend a little more time together now this is over, but I have a feeling you're going to be running more projects like this in the near future. So thank you all, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Martha. So what we have next is the ceremonial opening of the door, and this is something that all the commissioners will ceremonially and symbolically do. But I'm going to invite Martha and Paul to go and open the door on the pod to my right here on behalf of the commission as a whole. So shall we?